Good morning, everybody. Hope you had a wonderful Memorial Day weekend. Hope you spent some time reflecting on the sacrifices made by those who gave their lives for freedom, and we're certainly grateful. I told our church Sunday that I think more than at any other time, we are appreciating those who have given their lives so that we could be free. Even if they didn't pay that ultimate price, they gave 2 or 4 or even many more years so that we could have the freedom that we have. And now that freedom has been infringed upon a bit, we realize that the cost is great, but the gift is even greater. We're in chapter 26 of Proverbs here this morning. After today, only 5 chapters left. Tell me what you want to learn about next, and we will go through that book chapter by chapter. But for now, chapter 26, we have 28 verses, so we best be getting after it. Let's pray. Father, we love you, and we ask your blessing on our time of reading and study this morning. Please give us things that will be helpful to us and grant us wisdom. We ask this in Christ's name, amen. Chapter 26, verse number 1. Here we go. As snow in summer and as rain in harvest, so honor is not seemly for a fool. So these things don't go together, right? Snow in the summertime. This is Michigan, and we got snow in the month of May. I don't remember that happening. I'm sure it has, but man, it was really strange to have snow in May. That doesn't go together. Rain and harvest, that's a complication for the farmers trying to harvest their crops out of the fields. And if the fields are too wet, then they're not able to get their equipment in. They can't get their machinery in. And so that's a problem. So honor is not seemly for a fool. You don't praise a fool. You don't honor or recognize a fool. They should be ignored and even shunned. Verse number 2, as the bird by wandering, as the swallow by flying, so the curse causeless shall not come. So there are some natural things that occur on planet Earth. The birds wander, the swallows fly, and then man reaps according to how he's sown. So if a curse shows up in your life, there is a cause to that curse. Now, it's not necessarily you that's bringing the curse upon yourself. I would say that Job had a curse in his life, but Satan delivered that curse. His friends delivered that curse. So it's not necessarily saying that you're the reason, although you could be too, right? We all make mistakes and violate principles that cause pain in our lives. But always know that if there's a curse in your life, there is a cause for it. A lot of this chapter, by the way, it's going to deal with fools. A great percentage of the verses here are going to be addressing the fool. It's pretty blunt, pretty direct. Some of it deals with the tongue and speech as well. Verse number 3, a whip for the horse, a bridle for the ass, and a rod for the fool's back. So these things go together. A whip for the horse, right? You use a whip to get a horse moving or to get it moving quicker. A bridle for the ass or the donkey. So you're going to put a bridle around its neck and you're going to use it to control the donkey. And a rod for the fool's back. You've got to keep a fool in line. Now, I'm not saying physically, accost a fool to keep them in line, although sometimes it comes down to that, right? Verse number 4, these next 2 verses, these are seemingly contradictory, and we talked about this when we talked about scorners, so we'll see these 2 in action here. Answer not a fool according to his folly, lest thou also be like unto him. So the instruction is, don't answer a fool according to his folly. If a fool's running his mouth, she's causing problems and being a pain, then don't bother arguing with the fool. You'll just become like them. The old saying is, never wrestle with a pig because you both get muddy, only the pig likes it. So don't argue with a fool because you're both going to end up looking foolish. Only the fool is going to enjoy the process. The next verse seems to be contradictory. Answer a fool according to his folly, lest he be wise in his own conceit. So, first one says, don't answer a fool, lest you be like them. The second one says, answer them, lest they think they're wise. And I do believe still the difference is who the audience is. Is there a simple person around? If there's a simple person, you're going to answer the fool to help guide that simple person. If there's no simple person around, don't even bother wasting your time. Let the fool alone. Verse 6, he that sendeth a message by the hand of a fool cutteth off the feet and drinketh damage. So you're asking for trouble when you use a fool to do work that's important. When you're really counting on something to get done, when you really need something to happen, if you rely on a fool, you're cutting off your own feet. You're hurting yourself. Verse number 7, the legs of the lame are not equal. So is a parable in the mouth of fools. So we're talking about inequity here. We're talking about someone who's incapable of walking. Maybe the legs aren't the same length. I went to school with a young man, and one of his shoes, he had a 2 or 3 inch lift on the bottom of his shoe because one leg was slightly longer than the other. He was able to walk okay, but when you've got a disparity in length, then there's a problem with walking. It's inequity, inequality. And so is putting a parable in the mouth of a fool. Parable doesn't know the truth of the fool. In fact, of the parable, sorry, let me start over. The fool doesn't know the truth of the parable. So they're going to twist it. They're going to manipulate it. I hear people do it all day long about Matthew chapter 7, verse 1. Judge not that ye be not judged. And they say that means no one should judge anybody ever. Well, that's ridiculous. We have people whose job title is judge. They're to make judgment calls on matters, and we have to make judgment calls. They don't know what that passage teaches. They don't know what it means, and so they just throw that out there. That's a parable in the mouth of a fool. Verse 8, as he that bindeth a stone in a sling, so is he that giveth honor to a fool. Now, we often say slingshot, and that's not exactly the same thing as a sling. You know a slingshot, you'd get a Y piece of wood or a branch from a tree with a stem, so it has the main stem and then the Y. You'd hold that stem, put a rubber band between the two Y, and then you'd pull that back and you'd let go, and it would throw an acorn or a rock. That was a slingshot. A sling is different. A sling is just a long strap. I'm trying to get my hands in the frame here. My hands look huge when I come in at the camera. Anyhow, enough goofing off. Leather strap about that long, and it would have a loop at the end of it, or maybe just a cup, a widened section, and you'd put a stone in that, and then you just sling it. You'd rotate it, and then you'd whip that thing out. That was pretty good. Anyhow, you'd let that stone go. That's a sling. So if you took that rock and you put it in the pocket of the sling and then you tied it in there, well, you've just made the weapon useless. Now you're going to spin it around, and you're going to let it go, but the stone's not going to go anywhere. You've made it useless or ineffective. So just as binding a stone in a sling, so is giving honor to a fool. It's unnecessary. It's wasted. Just like tying a rock in a sling is wasted, giving honor to a fool is wasted. Give honor to whom honor is due, the New Testament says. So don't worry about honoring fools. They don't deserve it. Verse number 9, as a thorn goeth up into the hand of a drunkard, so is a parable in the mouth of fools. So a thorn in the hand of a drunk, it's going to cause him pain. It's going to cause him problems. He's not going to be able to get it removed. It's just going to be a source of frustration. So is a parable in the mouth of fools. A parable in the mouth of a fool is going to cause pain and struggle and frustration because you're going to try to reason with the fool. Hey, you misunderstand this parable. That's not what it's saying. Oh, yes, it is. And then now you're answering a fool according to his folly, and you're going to be like unto him. So you leave the fool be. Verse 10, the great God that formed all things both rewardeth the fool and rewardeth transgressors. Now, don't mistake that word rewardeth meaning honors or grants good things to them. What he's saying is he pays them what they've earned. he rewards them for what they've done. What is the reward for being a fool and being a transgressor? Well, it's a hard life. It's punishment. It's judgment. And so God, he sees it all. You don't have to worry about taking care of fools. There's enough policemen in the world. Why don't we let God do the policing? God is more capable than we are. For that matter, you don't have all the time to do all the policing. And then just because you catch somebody in a wrong doesn't mean that it's going to be rectified. Verse number 11, as a dog returneth to his vomit. I hope you're not eating breakfast right now. So a fool returneth to his folly. So we've all seen it. I won't delay. A dog regurgitates, and then it goes right back to it and starts lapping it up again. That is disgusting. It's grotesque, and it's sickening. So just as a dog does that, a fool goes right back to his folly. Maybe he got punished. Maybe he felt the pain of it. Maybe he got caught in behavior he was hoping not to get caught in, but he's going to go right back to it again. As disgusting as it is, he will return. Verse 12, seest thou a man wise in his own conceit? There is more hope of a fool than of him. So now we found somebody who's even worse than a fool. And of course, a scorner is also worse than a fool. But here's a guy wise in his own conceit, meaning he's arrogant, he's conceited. He thinks he's smarter than he is. So a simple fool is better than an ignorant man who thinks that he's right. That's what the verse is saying. Verse 13, now a couple of verses about the lazy and the slothful. The slothful man saith, there is a lion in the way. A lion is in the streets. So the lazy guy makes excuses. Hey, I heard that there's danger out there. I shouldn't leave my house. I'm going to stay put. I'm not going out. And it's just an excuse to be lazy. I've heard this taught before, and I believe it and agree with it. If you want to get something done, you really need something done, find someone who's busy and ask them to help you. Busy people get things done. That's why they're busy. Lazy people, it's when you find the guy that's just doing nothing, that has no interest in being a part, being a help, serving, then they're going to hurt you in the end. Verse 14, as the door turneth upon his hinges, so doth the slothful upon his bed. Isn't that quite the picture? Just as a door goes in and out, the slothful tosses and turns in bed all day long. Verse 15, the slothful hideth his hand in his bosom. It grieveth him to bring it again to his mouth. I always see this passage. We've already dealt with this very same verse earlier in the book. I wonder if there's a meaning that I'm not aware of about hiding your hand in your bosom. Is there a way that, is there a reason people would hide their hand? I know lepers would cover their bodies and hide body parts. And then, you don't want to see that. You don't want it visible. So maybe they're hiding it for a particular reason. I've looked it up before and I've never come up with an answer. So sorry about that. Verse 16, the sluggard is wiser in his own conceit than 7 men that can render a reason. So as far as the sluggard's concerned, his perspective is better than 7 guys with wisdom that know the truth of the matter. I'll tell you, when we look at what goes on in our government sometimes, and we look at inefficiency and ineffectiveness, a lot of folks with common sense can say, this could be done, boom, 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 this way, and it'd be finished. The problem would be fixed. But the government, no, we have to do this, and here's why that will. And they explain it all away. Just an example. Verse 17, he that passeth by and meddleth with strife, belonging not to him, is like one that taketh a dog by the ears. So you're wandering down the road and you see 2 guys going at it. Maybe they're arguing, maybe they're fighting. You'd be foolish to get involved. Let them have their argument. You don't need to be a part of it. We were on the bus route Saturday, and we were visiting a house, and across the street, there were 3 or 4 people in the front yard. They were all yelling and screaming and arguing at each other, and I didn't even look over there. I didn't want to even have them see me watching them. And I'll be honest with you, it's tempting, right? That's why we watch Cops. That's why when there's a wreck on the highway, you slow down. People like to see what's going on and see the drama, but I didn't want to be drug into it. What's it like? It's like taking a dog by the ears. You grab a dog that you don't know by the ears. What's it going to do when you let go? It's going to come and lunge at you. It's going to bite you. And so don't involve yourself in strife that doesn't belong to you. I would say there's an exception to this. It's when someone who is inferior is being picked on or bullied or accosted by someone who's bigger than them. Think this: if I saw a man beating a lady up in the front yard, I'm going to go get involved in that. I'm going to go break that up and try to protect that lady. If I see a child being physically abused, then I'm going to get myself involved in that. I'm going to try to help. But if it's not a great disparity, if two guys are going at it, man, and they're just toe to toe and they're, God bless them, man. I don't know. I might get a bag of popcorn and sit and watch that one. But I'm not going to involve myself unless I can help in some way. Next verse, 18. As a madman who casteth firebrands, arrows, and death, so is the man that deceiveth his neighbor and saith, am not I in sport? So this is the guy that causes trouble and then defends it by saying, oh, I was just kidding. I was just messing around with you. They stir up trouble. They cause conflict between people. And then they go, oh, no, man, don't get upset. I was just playing with you. I was teasing with you. You shouldn't get all riled up. And so that's how some of these people operate. There's a type of person that is so good at being manipulative that you have a hard time nailing them down. I'll be honest with you. The people that folks in our church come to me about more than any other type of person are those who put on a good show, put on a good face and a good front, but man, they are playing games with other people. And I'll tell you, they're easy to spot when you're the leader. You can see how they manipulate people. The trouble is almost everyone doesn't see that about them. They're fooled. And it's really difficult because if you go in and try to correct the situation, then everybody that thinks they're a nice guy, they turn on you and say, why are you picking on them? They're the sweetest person I know. The truth is they're lying, they're manipulative, they're deceitful, and it's really tough. So you almost have to give them enough rope to let them hang themselves, because eventually they will make a misstep, and then you just have to execute judgment quickly. It's a terrible, terrible thing, and that's how these people operate. Oh, that's your problem for getting offended. I was just teasing with you. It's a game that's played. You can tell it's not one of my favorite. Next, here we go. Verse 20, where no wood is, there the fire goeth out. Does that make sense? Where you don't have wood, there's not going to be a fire. Let's see, where am I? So, where there is no talebearer, the strife ceaseth. So now we're talking about these manipulative, deceitful people that cause trouble. They're gossips, they're critics. If you get rid of the talebearer, the gossip, you won't have any wood. So where there's no gossip, there's no strife either. Let's keep going. Verse 21. As coals are to burning coals and wood to fire, so is a contentious man to kindle strife. So if you use hot coals to get a fire going, you use wood to get a fire going, you can find contentious people to cause strife. People that just like to fight. They'll make snippy comments, they'll make snippy remarks, and I'll tell you, it's like bait. It's like they're fishing, and they just throw that snippy comment out there, hoping you'll bite onto it, and then they're engaged in a fight. And I'll tell you, some people just like to argue. Some people like to fight. If you're that way, God bless you. Don't call me. I'm not that kind of person. I don't like to be in conflict. I don't like to argue with people. I like to work cooperatively with people, knowing that we have differences of agreement, knowing that we don't always see things exactly the same way, but I want to work peaceably with people toward a common end. Don't just argue with me. That's why I don't spend a lot of time online commenting and posting and arguing with people. First off, I don't have time for that. I want to use my life in a much more helpful and beneficial way than winning imaginary battles online. It's a game that's played, and so talebearers, stay away from them. Don't take their bait. Next, verse 22: the words of a talebearer are as wounds, and they go down into the innermost parts of the belly. What this is saying is that gossips hurt people. Gossips hurt people deeply. So don't gossip about people. Don't talk about people behind their back. Leave them alone. Let them live their lives. Hey, even if they don't live a life that you agree with, that's their business, and God made them with their own free will. Now, we want people to do right. We want people to love God and serve Him. But if they decided they don't want to, I don't have to make that person my enemy. In fact, if I make them my enemy, I'm less apt to be able to influence them for right than if I just left them alone. Next, verse 23: burning lips and a wicked heart are like a potsherd covered with silver dross. So lips that are on fire, that burn people, and wicked-hearted people, they're like having silverware that's dirty. You go into a restaurant and you get your water glass and you look at it and there's still lipstick on it. Oh, you don't want to drink out of that. Or you pick up a piece of silverware and there's still some food stuck on it. You don't want to eat off of that. And that's the way burning lips or people that like to hurt others with their speech are like. Verse 24: he that hateth dissembleth with his lips, and layeth up deceit within him. When he speaketh a fair, believe him not, for there are 7 abominations in his heart. So people with hate in their heart, they dissemble with their lips. They tear down with their lips. They tear down people. They tear down things. They tear down organizations. They tear down products. It's funny. You go down to Amazon and you'll find things that are like 4.5 stars. And there'll be 10,000 reviews. Man, this is the greatest product I ever used in my life. But you know what? 10,000 5-star reviews, there'll always be 50 1-star reviews. Worst piece of junk I've ever seen, right? There's always those 1-star people. You can't make 1-star people happy. You can't please them. They're always going to exist because they've got to tear other people down. And here's what I find typically about 1-star people: they've never built anything in their life. They've never accomplished anything with their life. They live their lives to tear down. Next, verse 26, is that right? 26. Whose hatred is covered by deceit. So they'll pretend, oh, no, I'm not that way. I'm different than that. You misunderstand me. But, his wickedness shall be showed before the whole congregation. He's going to try to cover it up. He's going to lie, but eventually he'll be known for what he is. Verse 27, whoso diggeth a pit shall fall therein, and he that rolleth a stone, it will return upon him. This is Wile E. Coyote, isn't it? This is the guy who digs a pit for the roadrunner, and then he ends up falling in it. Or he puts a rock out on the edge of a cliff to hit the roadrunner, and he ends up having the rock roll over his own self. I don't know if the Looney Tunes writers were Bible believers or not, but they had that down, didn't they? So you dig a pit for someone else, you're going to fall in it yourself. You want to roll someone over with a rock, it's going to roll over you. Verse 28, last verse of the chapter: a lying tongue hateth those that are afflicted by it, and a flattering mouth worketh ruin. When someone lies about you, they hate you. That's why they lie about you. The one that tries to flatter you, butter you up, but then lies about you behind their back, Don't fall for their flattery. Again, this is that manipulative person. You got to have great discernment to see the manipulative. They'll come at you, and no one will believe you. It's like those movies you see where we're the audience, so we know, oh man, this guy is causing all kinds of trouble behind the back of this person, and the person that's being, mischaracterized, misjudged, they're trying to plead their cause, but no one will believe them. They believe the guy who's up to no good. Those people exist in real life. It's not just the movies. You got to have great discernment, and trust the people trust your friends, trust your judgment that you've given to them for years and years. All right, boy, what did we do today? 25 minutes. I'm going to let you go, let you get about your day. I've got a ton to do myself. God bless you. Back to work today after the holiday, and I hope you enjoyed your day yesterday. Looking forward to this week. We're doing Revelations on Wednesday night at 7 o'clock, LBC Flint, here on the Facebook, or Lighthouse Baptist Church, rather. If you see these, you typically see them. So tune in with us Wednesday nights. We're doing, what chapter are we on? I want to say 10, maybe. Tomorrow night, moving right along through the trumpet judgments. That's where we are right now. All right, God bless you. We'll talk to you tomorrow.